Hello everyone and welcome to today's installment of Beyond the Mask. In today's episode we're going to be taking a deep dive into some unexplained lore from the Scream franchise in hopes of finally answering a long-wondered question that's been on many fans' lips since the movie was released in 1996. Billy Loomis and Stu Macher planned out their killing spree in 1996 down to the fine detail. With this in mind, one death in particular has always left me somewhat curious as to what the actual purpose was. The death I'm talking about is that of Principal Himbries. Now, there's been numerous theories thrown around by fans. One major one is that the death was orchestrated to provide a distraction for the partygoers at Stu's house during the final act. Another is that this is a random attack, but still somewhat unexplained. There's always been something I've considered, but it's never been able to be proven correct as a specific reason for Himbries' death. As most of you are aware, I'm currently in the process of writing some novelizations based on the Scream movies, with the intentions of fully releasing them to you guys to read in the coming weeks. The first novel, which is simply titled Scream, is coming along nicely. The novelizations will treat readers as though they don't know who is under the Ghostface mask, as the reveal will still come out during the climax. However, as a way of providing some extra writing, I actually have a single chapter which serves as an epilogue of sorts, which allows us to see brief moments from the killer's point of view. In this instance, Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. I did this to help flesh out the characters, as it's somewhat difficult to do this when trying to keep their murderous identity hidden. In the epilogue of the book, there's a specific section I have written which will help explain in detail why Billy Loomis murdered Principal Himbry and what significance it holds to the story. Today I'd like to share segments of this chapter with you, so sit back and relax as I talk you through why Principal Himbry was really murdered and what significance this held for Billy. Billy approached the door to Principal Himbry's office. Any normal student at Woodsboro High would be somewhat afraid. Himbry wasn't well respected amongst the students, but they knew not to push their luck around him. Truthfully, there was something unhinged about the principal. Billy almost found it admirable. Admirable if Himbry wasn't such a dick majority of the time. He knocked on the door, and before Billy could take in his surroundings fully, the door swung open. Himbry stood firm, a scolding expression across his face. Billy wondered if he'd ever stretched his mouth to form a smile. "Come in, Billy, take a seat," said Himbry, as he gestured back into the office. This was stupid. Billy had things to sort out tonight. He desperately had to visit someone before he went to Stu's for the night. He stepped into the office and took a seat in the chair nearest to the doorway. Himbry pulled up a chair himself and moved towards Billy. It was too close. This was Himbry's way of being intimate with the students. Intimate enough to make them feel comfortable. Billy had been in this office too many times to not be aware of the procedure. Still, this was going to be interesting. "I've spoken to your father," uttered Himbry. Rage filled Billy instantly. Hank was pathetic. He hated being associated with him. "What did he say?" replied Billy. He looked into Himbry's eyes. Billy's piercing stare didn't seem to faze Himbry in the slightest. "He's concerned about you, we both are," replied Himbry. He had a warmth in his eyes, a warmth that made Billy feel sick to his stomach. Was this Hank's attempt at trying to reach him suddenly? "I know you've been cleared by the police, but this situation is serious," Himbry said. Billy's gaze suddenly relaxed. He needed to get this asshole off his back and quick. He looked at the floor and remembered all the studying he had done on serial killers who claimed their innocence. Adding this layer here allows us to see more insight into Billy's state of mind. He refers to his father as Hank as a lack of respect. He presents his personal feelings of neglect from Hank, even though Himbry is clearly explaining how Hank is somewhat concerned about Billy's welfare. "I'm innocent," he muttered. "I didn't kill anybody," said Billy. He glared back into the eyes of Himbry. Himbry paused for a moment. "We know that. It's just you definitely have displayed a lack of interest in your studies over the past 12 months. It's something that I have had to tell Sheriff Burke when he came to ask some questions about you earlier, said Himbry. I understand things have been hard for you since your mother left, Billy, said Himbry. Billy felt sick. He didn't even know her properly. She definitely would have hated him being arrested like he was last night, and she definitely would have fought for him harder than Hank did. I don't think about her much, said Billy, just as he glanced up towards the table. Sat there, piercing and imposing, was a Father Death mask. Himbry seemingly noticed this too. Oh, I've just confiscated that from 2 of your classmates, said Himbry, as he looked over at the table. I've no doubt they'll become sought after, now that the police have informed every single store within a 5-mile radius to remove the costume from their shelves, finished Himbry. Billy stopped for a moment. He and Stu didn't have a second mask. It was taken by the police last night. In fact, Billy had hoped he'd be able to pick another one up on his way to Christina's before the party tonight. Shit, he and Stu didn't bank on needing spurs. He glared at the mask as Himbry turned back to Billy. He's a good man, your father, Billy. I know you may not think it, but he really does care about you, said Himbry. Rage pulsed through Billy's body. He hated Hank, and Himbry was just as bad. If only Billy had a knife in hand. In order to bring a realistic tone to this novel from Billy's perspective, I spent 2 weeks studying the writings and claims surrounding real-life serial killers. It's often stated they could lose themselves in rage. Billy, through his scenes, often displayed signs of rage filling up, yet he seemingly pushed it back down, showing he has some sort of control over his own emotions. Why don't you head home and go and speak to him? I know you came straight here possibly to talk to Miss Prescott, asked Himbry. The mask, fuck, this was Stu's fault. Billy would have thought of this, but Stu was constantly goofing around when they were trying to plan out key points each night. Now they were a mask down, and if every store in the area didn't sell one, Billy didn't even have time to travel to get another. He glared at the mask once again, and then realised Himbry was waiting on a reply. I'll do that, I just hope he means what he's saying, that's all, replied Billy, putting his head down. Himbry placed his hand on Billy's shoulder. Get your fucking hand off me was the only thing that pressed in Billy's mind. Go and see for yourself, talk to him. You'll be surprised how much he understands, said Himbry. Billy got to his feet and walked towards the door. He avoided looking at the mask, as he was sure Himbry would notice if he glared back once again. Himbry got to his feet and walked to the door behind Billy. Billy turned around. Thanks for the talk, he said sincerely. Himbry nodded assuringly as Billy left the room. Billy paced down the school corridor. It was empty and silent. Billy's thoughts weren't, however. I'm going to kill Stu, he thought over and over. This was his fault. Billy needed another mask. They had one between them, and if everything went as planned tonight, they'd likely need another. With that in mind, Billy reached his locker. Rage filled his mind. He was going to kill Stu. No, he was going to kill Sydney. That was obvious, of course. Tonight was the night. Nothing was going to be ruined. This was building inside Billy, like a water dam ready to burst. He clenched his fists. No, he knew what was going to happen. He was going to kill Principal Himbry. That was it. Use Stu's costume, kill Himbry, and get the mask back. The whole costume had been taken by the police. He caught a glimpse of Jason Wallace running down the corridor in the costume. There was bound to be another set of robes in Himbry's office somewhere. If not, he'd find a way. They needed another. Himbry had to die. Billy paced away down the corridor towards history, where Stu would likely be waiting for him. The loss of his own Ghostface costume and the discovery that the police had requested stores stop selling the costume added to this story provides us with some further insight into why Himbry's death was significant to the story. It also shows that pranksters actively taunting Sydney in the school played a darker role in the movie than was initially stated. In fact, the pranksters unintentionally provided Billy with another costume to carry out his murderous acts in the movie. It could be argued that Billy didn't end up using the costume in the end. However, Billy was a perfectionist and wanted everything to be planned perfectly. Having a costume for himself was important and absolutely critical to his ultimate plan in the end. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps support the channel and also allows Paramount to see you'd like these novelizations to be made. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, serial killer isn't really accurate. You have to knock off a couple more to get that title.